PZY has sent me out two of their latest kits, the Ferrari SF90XX. Both the XX and the SF90, one is the regular coupe and the other one is the spider version. Both kits in general pretty much the same kit. Of course, this one has a spider body and some spider specific parts. This one has the coupe, so less of the spider parts. I'm going to be unboxing the coupe and I'm going to be checking out the manual and the parts list for the spider as well, but I'm not going to go through all of the parts in detail as most of them are pretty much the same. And if you want either the coupe or the spider, then this video should give you a general idea of what both kits look like. These are temporarily available for pre-order in the TSMC webshop, so if you are interested in getting one of these kits, I have some available, and if they go quick, I can order some more. So do check out the link in the description down below or go to any of the other dealers for PZY. Let's jump into the box and see what this coupe is all about. So I will be checking these out a little bit later in combination with the ones for the spider. Chassis itself is pretty plain and simple, no big deal. Flat chassis on the underneath. Top side has some parts of the interior already molded in. One of the dead pedals at least, and a couple of bits here. Nothing all that complicated, probably just needs to be painted black unless you want another color for the carpet, and then the rest builds on top of this. Speaking of the rest, that's pretty much it. It has some brake calipers for the rear, for the front. Some photo etch bits will go on top later. Nicely detailed calipers, just flat on the backside, no big deal, and it just slots in place. For the wheels, you get two different options. The standard SF90 option, which I'm definitely not going to be using as I simply don't like the design, and then the upgraded one, which needs to be done in carbon fiber. Looks a ton better, is a lot more work, but it might be fun to have some carbon fiber looking wheels. Also comes with some tires. The front ones are a bit narrower than the rear ones. This is a rear wheel with a front tire, and then the rear wheels are this is a front wheel with a front tire. Nonetheless, tires look great, have some details on the sidewall, and also have a nice tread pattern. The back, nothing special, nothing out of the ordinary. They fit nice, they feel nice, they look good. Now, besides the interior, there is also a bit of engine. Now, there's not a ton of engine. There is a basic engine bay. Some of the engine that is partially visible, the underneath is non-existent. It just fits in on a flat base. Paint this black, give this a nice bit of color, a bit of weathering. Most of it will then be covered up with all of these parts, so it's never really going to be all that visible, but some of the areas that are visible have been nicely detailed and built up where needed, just to get a bit of a convincing look for all of the engine bits. It has a clear engine cover and is partially visible, so it is nice that they've spent some time detailing all of these parts out and giving it most of the engine. There are more areas that will cover up those engine bits with a nice bit of carbon fiber. So besides the engine, there is some interior too. The dashboard is made out of multiple different components, giving you a ton of options for different colors, separated pieces, additional details, carbon fiber, you name it, it pretty much has it all. Everything nice, crisp, slots together really easily, and builds up to an incredibly nicely detailed dashboard on all sides. Now besides the dashboard, there is some pieces for behind the seats. The seats themselves, really nicely done. Super lightweight buckets. A ton of carbon fiber needs to be added on these too. Luckily, there's a ton of decal sheets with pre-cut carbon fiber, so that makes it a lot easier. Same goes for the center console. That builds up nicely in multiple different pieces, and besides these bigger ones, there's also a ton of smaller ones. Everything just as nice, just as detailed, and it builds up really well. Now there are some more parts, some vents for on the dashboard, even the steering wheel itself. The airbag is missing, the pedals for the shifting are missing, but all included in the kit, and I will be showing those during the build itself. To round the interior off, there are some door panels, tons of carbon fiber bits. I think pretty much the entire thing needs to be carbon fiber, and then some other small armrests, door handles to be built on top of it. Now included in a smaller box, there are some 3D printed items. I believe these are mostly for the engine bay, some exhaust bits, exhaust tips, even some of the, let's call it spark plugs, but I think the ignition coils, some caps, some nuts, some bolts, and whatever this is, but I'll figure that out soon enough during the build. That's pretty much it. Yep, moving on. For the window wipers, there is a specific box with some separate parts. I don't believe I'm going to be needing this many wipers, but I'm glad there are multiple options at least. Luckily, these are cast and not made out of the stupid photo etch pieces that are too complicated to do and don't really look that great in the end. I love it that they're doing this more and more often. Please keep doing this. Now, besides that big flat sheet, there are some other ones that are cast for the more complicated shapes. These, I believe, are either resin printed or cast, and as you can see, they are not incredibly smooth and clear. A coat of clear will fix this, just applying some clear red or clear orange, whatever it needs, or just even some transparent glossy clear will make them nice and glossy, so not that big of a deal. For these parts, at least, for the bigger ones, not really an option. So as you might have already seen during the quick unboxing, there are some different versions for the decals and the exterior, and to complement those exterior options, you also get a couple different colors for the seat belts on the interior side. For the clear parts, we have the main sheet of pre-cut, pre-painted, or pre-printed parts just to take out and glue in place. As usual, not the biggest fan, but it's a necessary evil for these kits, as I believe this is a ton cheaper and these parts are a lot clearer and cleaner to do. And since casting clear parts isn't really all that easy to get a nice crisp clean part, specifically this big, this thin, this is probably the best option out there. Nonetheless, not a big fan, even though they look nice and clean and should fit nicely. I wish there were other solutions for this. With this being a modern Ferrari, that means a lot of carbon fiber optional parts. Now, since it's a XX, specifically lightweight racing race car for the street, a ton of carbon fiber. Luckily, a ton of decals are included, pre-cut, so that should be a lot easier to put on. There are some revisions as well, included in some smaller separate decal sheets for some optional parts too. So the main big one is just a ton of carbon fiber in the specific weave that Ferrari uses on their carbon. It's a bit more of a square instead of the regular twill weave that you see on most carbon fiber. A ton of parts for the optional wheels. You also get the wheels in carbon. Not really sure if I'm going to use those, but I probably am. It will be a ton of work, but it would look incredibly cool. So really nice to see all that included for both the exterior and even the wheels. Then for the exterior, there's also a ton of different options to go for stripes, no stripes, numbers, specific liveries, and other things alike in many different colors. I'm really tempted to use something with the orange, but do let me know what you guys would like to see in the comments down below. Now, if that first sheet of carbon wasn't enough, then there's more. More for the interior, more for the exterior, a ton of decals for all of the badges, the logos, the instrument clusters, I think even for some of the seat bits and the interior bits. And then, wouldn't you figure, even more carbon fiber for all of the chassis, the front splitter, rear splitter. Oh boy, this is going to be a ton of decal work. Nonetheless, it will be applied. It does require it, as it simply just looks amazing. But I'm going to take my time in doing that because this is a lot. And then finally, another decal sheet with a bit more of the exterior livery options for the different colors. Again, not sure which one I'm going to be using or if I'm going to be using any at all, but do let me know down in the comments which one you'd like to see, or just in general how you'd like me to spec this one out. So if all of the resin parts weren't enough, then there's a ton of additional parts to go on top of those to detail it out even further. A ton of tiny bits for the interior in some photo etch, also exterior, some badges, even some of the parking sensors, internals for the lights. More grills, badges, buttons for on the interior just to finish it all off. Even a nice plaque to showcase what you've built. Some bits for the interior, as the floor mats in this one are made out of metal. The details for the brake disc surfaces, some bits for the spoilers, shifter paddles, even some seatbelt bits, and then a ton of grills, meshes, and additional details for on top of the brakes, the pedals. I believe some more bits for the seat belts, even on top of the disc brake calipers, some details too. Really nice. Everything feels nice and sturdy. Will be a ton of work again, as there's a lot of grills and details to add, but nothing we haven't seen before. Looks really good. Now, besides the main flat piece of chassis, there is a super nicely detailed rear diffuser and also a rear splitter that is built up of multiple parts. Tons of carbon fiber to go on top of this, as I've mentioned one too many times already. The shape, the size, the finishing, incredible. There are some more bits for on the side skirts, or there are some side skirts too. Some bits that go on top of the hood or somewhere else. Even more bits for the splitter, the diffusers, the exhaust tips, some air inlets for on the front. This looks like a rear spoiler, but could also be more parts of a front diffuser. And then these parts are actually for the spoiler, with a center bit to go in between. More front parts. Air intakes for underneath the front, and also some side mirrors. And if all of that wasn't enough, there's even a body included. Now, like I said, this is the coupe version. There is also a spider version, mainly the same bits and pieces all around, except for this roof area, which is a bit different, and some bits behind there. Now, I am going to be taking out the instruction manual after this one, so if you are interested in seeing some of the differences and the different parts, hang in there. For the rest, incredible. Really complicated, nice and smooth casting. Can't really see any imperfections. All of the panel lines crisp, nice, deep. They don't need any scribing whatsoever, so just a light sand and it's ready for primer. The inside is also nicely detailed and smooth for the headliners, has some of the sun visors and a bit for the rear view mirror, the A pillars, the B pillars, everything that can somehow be seen is nicely detailed. For the suspension parts, the wheels, the wheel hubs, fender liners are where the hubs mount onto, so no big separate parts, just the brake calipers and discs in one assembly. Glue it in place and ready to go. And then finally, the instruction manuals. So let's put these side by side, or at least top and bottom. Most of these parts seem to be generally the same for the engine bay, for the wheels, the tires, all of the clear parts, the diffuser bits. Of course, the body is different. This one is missing a roof bit. And then this thing behind the seats that is a bit different, as these parts here on top will be visible right here. And in this case, it is a bit different for these parts, as it's not visible from the top, and a different form. And the rest pretty much identical, if I'm not mistaken. So if you want to build the spider, then, well, the spider is the one to go for. I'm more of a coupe guy, so I'm going to be building the coupe. Again, do let me know what you guys would like to see, which color, which combination, and if you're interested in purchasing one of these, I will have them temporarily available in the TSMC shop for pre-order, and I have a very select amount of kits available. So if you want one, do let me know, or just pre-order it on the website. Links will be in the description down below.